Magnetar Unlimited Prosperity broadcast, bringing you the news of the galactic co-prosperity sphere. Citizens of the GCPS, stay tuned for a new episode of the MUP broadcast. Listen carefully, work responsibly, earn prosperity.
So, welcome to the Mantic Universe podcast. This is your host Matthias for another Deadzone episode, and this time with Claudio, but in his role for the Rules Committee to answer our questions and tease what the future will bring. Hello, Claudio.
Hi, Matthias.
So, we have already talked a little bit about updates and new units in the last episode, and people may have already seen the hints out there that something is coming. So, what is there out there? The question isn't really at if what is coming or if something is coming, but how big will it be?
Yeah, so good question. And you're absolutely right. The teasers are out there already. And I'm really looking forward to talking a bit about the things that are coming, because, as you said, there are things coming and it will be big. So it will be a big update.
Yeah, so big update means we are looking about for a kind of command protocol for 3rd edition, which would be the first command protocol or similar update we get in 3rd.
Yeah, in 2nd edition we had the escalation, for example, which was a big update for the 2nd edition, the command protocol. And this would be on that level, and I'd say even more, maybe. So we had in 3rd edition already a few minor updates here and there. We had Marauder additions, we had Forgefather updates, we had 2 new factions, and the Vault things and updates we already talked about last episode. So overall, if you look back, there were quite a few updates over the, I've looked it up now, nearly 4 years, 3.5 years. October 2021, the 3rd edition was released. So this one will be the big balance and also gameplay update, I'd say.
So we're looking at version 3.5 now, or update 3.5, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to call it that way, it would work, yeah.
That sounds fitting. I mean, it's having a big update every 3 to 4 years is reasonable, and I guess with all the new units and releases, we got a bunch of new plastic stuff, we got new digital stuff, so I think it's appropriate to have a big balance update and maybe some new units in there. I guess, are we talking about a printed or just a digital update now?
So this one will be a digital update only. It will be using the companion mainly, because it's a tool we've been using over the last years for those little updates too, and it's just a good way to implement these new rules balancing changes.
It is a living rule book.
Yeah.
So it's a pro. So, thing is, I guess I hope we will see a good changelog on the things that happen, so that anyone who is looking out for doesn't need to read everything 3 or 4 times to catch everything, but have a changelog in there to see the changes immediately. Maybe we can convince Mantic to release a PDF version of the update, so that everyone who doesn't want to use the companion or just want to have it printed out may use it as well.
Yeah, I think it's always up to the community. I hope that there will be something included in the errata, because the old errata will be too old, and
it won't replaced, obviously.
Yeah, it has to be replaced anyway. So let's see what will be in there. That's something I really can't tell. So we will have to see. And I'm always a fan of just saying you can also print PDFs out from the companion if you like to have something downloaded. I know it's not maybe as nice, but it can be helpful if you're someone who wants to have that more. But either way, I think maybe if there are enough people, they can be convinced that it's an option that a majority of people maybe want. So, but first and foremost, this will be a companion update.
Yeah, okay. So at least there's one person out there, which is me, who would like to see something that he can print out. I mean, I've been a little bit torn because for one part, I'm glad that this is a digital update, so everyone who has already subscribed get it for free. No need to buy another book or anything like that, just to get a balance update out there, which is a good thing. But when I think sometimes I like to have my books up to date and all the offline options. So having something to put into the book that I can say, okay, I print out that sheet with the changelog, put it somewhere in the back that I know what changed when I skip through it, would be nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Maybe. Okay. You already said it's a balance update. So this is purely solving the balance issues there are, which I guess are not that many, or how you see. And yeah, this is then just me not playing enough, I guess. So
no, I think. I mean, Deadzone is known to be a rather balanced and well-rounded game, I would say. But over the years, it has been clear for the ones who've been playing a bit more or even a bit more competitively that there are a few units that aren't as balanced as they should be, either because they are too good or like not worth taking. Sometimes a problem like the overall balance, so between the factions, and sometimes it's in the faction itself.
Yeah, so these are two very different problems to solve, because balance within a faction simply results in some models or units are not taken at all, while some are taken by everyone, which isn't necessarily a big negative for a lot of people. They just accept it that, okay, of the 10 units to choose from, those 8 are the ones to go and the 2 are left behind. So a balance update here is nice, but not necessarily must have for some people. While an interfaction balance update is much more important, because knowing that you're in a disadvantage by choosing a specific faction is a no-go in gaming, in my opinion. So,
exactly. But then again, having one faction where you know, okay, I have to take this one, or I can't take like 70% of that part of the faction, and every list looks the same, else I will just get wrecked. It's also not much fun. I don't think we have. It's not a big problem in Deadzone, but there are a few things. But I think those we will maybe look at a few changes to units a bit later. But yeah, so I laughed a bit because we have quite a big block of changes for the factions. So it's not only 2 or 3 units. It's really, really a lot.
Yeah. So how long have you been working on the balance update now? Is this
okay? Well, and we had the question if it's only a balance update, and now we only talked about the balancing. It's much more than that. Much more. So the balance, I think, is one of the most important things, of course, but it's only a fraction of the things we are doing, or we did with this update. There will be so many new ways to play the game that will shake up for those who are now playing for 12 years over the last editions. There will be a few things returning you might know in a way from earlier editions or iterations, and there will be some things that are completely new. There will be many options for you, so nothing that you have to play, but many options if you're maybe more of a narrative gamer. And there will be also a bit of a shake-up. Only a few things here and there for the core rules. Maybe only, I think, 1 or 2 things that that need to change a little bit, nothing massive. And
yeah, I mean, it's a good framework already, so not expecting a lot changes there. So
yeah, and one thing we looked at in detail is the list of keywords, because over time, I think the most things in the errata were about keywords and maybe finding loopholes, something not being as intuitive to read as it should be. Then some keywords get maybe even removed or changed completely. So it's really not only.
I mean, it happens over time when you add new units, you add new keywords, or think you need a keyword, but it gets redundant over time and things like that. So
and I think
changes to
one keyword that is rather new but will be removed because it was a cool idea, but it's just not needed, and we don't want to clutter everything with more new keywords. So actually, I think we will have less keywords after this update than before. So the one I was talking about is the outcast keyword for the Matsudan, which is an edge case because it's only used for honorable units, which are also very rare. So it was a cool rule for from a lore perspective, but it's just not needed, and it didn't really impact the game that much. So, for instance, that we had in the beta phase, and this is gone again. But there will be also a few other keywords that change maybe drastically, and I don't know, maybe you or the listeners can guess which of the keywords could be maybe the one with the biggest change.
I can guess, but I don't know if I should in this format. But in general speaking, I'm a friend of streamlined rules. So things that are nice to have for a narrative point of view, I really like those. But if they have no use in gaming, it's something you have, you remember, you need to know. But if you never use it in the game, it's really not something that should be there.
Exactly. And that's something we really wanted to target. And I think that's also important to keep in mind because we added something new last year with the elusive keyword, for example, and I think that's a really useful keyword. But the outcast, on the other hand, was really flavorful, but it's not something you need, and it's just something you have to look up.
This is something that could go in the lore text for the specific units, things like that this is an option in the lore, but not something that has an impact in the game.
Yeah.
So additional content. Now, first of all, you avoided the question on asking on how long you have been working on that one.
Yeah,
so
true.
I guess you don't want to answer.
I'm not really sure, actually, because I had to look it up since when 3rd edition was released, and that's 3.5 years ago, so October 21. And I think now it might be 2.5 years, maybe even 3 already. 2.5 years for sure that we are working on this update. Some things got added over time. A few things were there from the beginning. Like, balancing is always there. But it's been a while. It's been something where I'm really, really glad if I finally can use the companion again, because it's having these lists printed out where you only have, here add this keyword, remove that keyword, change the points here and there. It gets messy, and the convenience of just playing with the companion and doing your lists is something I'm really looking forward to, because I didn't have that
once you get
used
using the digital version, it gets it's really
it,
hard to go back to text-based ones.
It's doable, but
I mean, I still like to print sometimes things out just to check or have two lists next to each other to compare things and make notes with the pen when I print it out. I do this, but this is something like I do on early when I write my lists on early development stage, when I plan out what models to make or what conversions I need, what parts to buy. So then I print that out, write it down, the options I have to build this model, what parts I already have, what I may not need to buy, what I can convert. Then it comes in handy to print things out. But for actual list building and playing, I won't miss having paper lists at all. So I really like the companion for that thing. So this is not being able to use it because the changes are not there. It sounds awful. This is
but to be fair, usually I still printed out the lists doing the companion, or most of them, those that didn't maybe change it a great deal, and then just took a pen and changed it on the list itself. So because I really like to have I think the PDF version printed out from the companion is great. Having the keywords on there if you have the subscription is also awesome for newer players, but didn't help me that much. As I stated, many things changed, so nothing I could rely upon. But it's always fun. It's some parts. I mean, playtesting is always fun. Then again, you're questioning everything you are doing. Was it just bad luck? Is this unit really too bad? Am I just too bad? Is my opponent too good?
Am I just a bad player?
Am I just a bad person, maybe? So, many things going through your head. Yeah. Well, there are a few parts where you can say you're playing this and that, and this new unit or this unit change doesn't look that bad. You're playing it, and then you say, okay, this is completely broken. Maybe I'm an evil person. And I said to myself, this isn't broken before. But
I mean, anyway, this has always happened. When you do recrafting and writing things in a vacuum with your own, you write stuff down, think about it, it's a good idea, sounds awesome, but not too strong. In the context you're writing it, sleeping overnight, or a week passes, and you look at it again and said, what was I thinking? That can't be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I love theory crafting, and I'm spending way too much time on it over the last 2.5 years. But I've also played many games with my local friends and my playing groups here. We have a few play testers, so many discussions. Also, sometimes discussions. Then on another day when we were meeting in a bar, and our other friends who don't play Deadzone but know enough from Deadzone because we are talking about it, then don't like us theory crafting again at the bar after we just did it like the day before when playing the whole time. But I mean, that's a process and it's really fun, but I'm so glad we're at a point where it's really near and it will be out and the work is done. We just had a bigger phone meeting, I think 1 or 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago maybe, where we just, had to tie everything up and discuss the last things. So, I can't wait for you all to see what is coming.
Yeah, so additional update, you already said there might be narrative changes, so we're looking at new scenarios, we're looking at new units or new ways to play in general. Is solo playing coming back? Or do we see a different campaign coming up? So give me something to work with.
Okay, I can give you something. I don't want to spoil too much. I still want to be a bit vague here and there. But so one thing, solo gaming isn't there. This is something which I really enjoyed, and I'm playing quite a bit with the old rules. That's something that could be added in the future. It didn't really fit in here. So, but I'm a big fan of solo play, so I hope it will be coming back. But we will be getting new scenarios, some maybe even a bit more thematic. We will be getting more interaction for scenery things, or maybe tables to roll on, more ways to play and how the board looks. This will be blowing your mind. Ian Davies blew our mind when he just dropped his suggestion. Well, he didn't suggest it. He said, well, this is something new. This is awesome. And we said, you've lost your mind completely now. I mean, we said that a few times, but this was really crazy. I won't spoil that one. That will be...
okay, so at least we have now something to look forward to. So we know there is something coming up with the tables.
And we don't have a new campaign, because I think the campaign system of 3rd edition is still a really good one, and I think it's not played that much yet, but we will be getting some more, let's say, environmental options.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an episode when we were talking about narrative gaming, like how to narrative game. And I mean, I knew what was coming, but I had to keep my mouth shut there.
Yeah,
but this will really, really help. So if you have listened to that episode, it's the how to narrative campaigning or narrative gaming of Deadzone. This will help immensely. And I've been building different tables or printing stuff just for this.
For anyone now listening and who hasn't listened to the old episode of how to start narrative Deadzone campaign, go back, listen to it again, and maybe you'll get some additional hints out there for what's coming up.
Yeah, now that you know it, maybe I've hidden something in there. I'm not really sure even, but
I really can't. Maybe.
Maybe I even I have to go there myself, but you know.
But so, God, what have I done?
Oh, I already said that back then. Crazy.
Yeah.
So there are really, really many things. So a few crazy things, a few things that are very close to my heart. That I, as the narrative options, I really, really wanted to have in there, and I'm so glad that that's also a big upside for the digital. I know people really like having the book, but when we were at the point where we said, okay, Mantic, how much space do we get? Because we have a load. We have our PDF is really long, you know.
Yeah.
How much space do we get? And then Clive said, okay, we plan to do it. When we got the date, we plan to do it on the companion. Go crazy. We have, we're working on the companion. We have the structure.
I guess he's already regretting that he said that to you. So
well, I think Elliot will be. Because I think he will be implementing even more than Clive himself. But hey, I think Clive at this point should know if he says that to me, there is no holding me back. So
I am not sure if he's still underestimating people. So let's see. I mean, it is my sympathy out there for any. I think Mantic now needs to hire a second guy doing their companion to add updates and things like that, because I think Elliot is already overloaded.
If we're going, if we're doing more of this, it wouldn't hurt. I'm sure. Yeah. But I'm really glad that they have someone who is really specializing in this. And Elliot had a backlog, I think, with Dungeon Saga Origins with the app. This is, I think, now finished, the companion for the Dungeon Crawler. So
I think also the
maybe now
his backlog is also done by now, and Halo is also out already. So
now he's free, no problem there.
I guess he would disagree, but let's see. Well, so I take the chance now, because we've already covered it a little bit. The Rules Committee, the RC, we have usually people know it exists. Some people know who those are who are working on there, but what does it actually mean? Is it you going crazy when you get the allowance to do it, but is this something really cases? Of course, it's people playing the game. People know the game in detail, but is this more like you just look around and see issues, go back to Mantic and see that's a stuff that we think needs to be solved, or is Mantic coming to you and said, now we have this kind of issues, or we want these changes, do something with it. How is it actually going?
Hey there, I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
From Deadzone the podcast.
And you're listening to Mantic Universe Podcast.
For everything Mantic under the sun.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends. So the Rules Committee, we are the Deadzone Rules Committee, we are 3 people. So Ian Davies is the chair, so the head of the RC. And Ian and I have already been working on 3rd edition together when Andy Sharp was still they had. And after Andy left, Ian took over, and we added Miguel to the fray. So we have 3 different play groups: one UK, one Germany, one Spain. We have
but it's not just different play groups; it's also different regions and different gaming philosophies out there. Because it's
maybe some of you know the Spaniards. They are sometimes crazy power gamers, so that's also a good angle to look at at some changes. If he goes to his play testers, they usually are pretty good at finding the filth. Yeah. So that's fun. So
it's also you were also a little bit more narrative focused for the gaming group, and the UK gamers are different.
Well, Ian goes,
I would say. I'm not sure if they.
Yeah, well, they have tournaments, so that's one big thing. I've been to quite a few tournaments here in Germany, in Regensburg, because a local group here, a club, hosted these events, but it's not a competitive scene. Those are players who play many games and enjoy Deadzone, and sometimes we get together. I've been to the UK to play a few tournaments, but it was before COVID. Since then, I haven't been there, unfortunately. So I'd say I can be a pretty competitive player too, but I love the narrative aspect. So it really depends on the situation, I'd say.
It's usually, but what I have, if I go around here, how to say, I wouldn't call what we do tournaments, but more gaming days. So coming together, have several games and have fun. I think Spain is much more competitive in that regard, and the UK is they're more the gentleman's gamers in general. I think it's missing a better word here.
Maybe it's going hand in hand there. Yeah. I'm hoping to do in a more narrative event towards the end of the year, but it's still something I have to drop. This update has to drop first, so that it's out of my mind. And there will be a few options in here that can then be used for a more narrative gaming day, because we had a few tournaments here, and sometimes it's, if you have seasoned players who are also playtesters, and so on, and then you have a few newer players that really want to play Deadzone and just get stomped because, if you know the game inside out, even if you don't bring a crazy list, you usually outsmart in a tactical way your opponent. So something that has a more of a focus on the narrative might be better for those, so that they don't have the feeling of, just getting wrecked in a game. That's not fun.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to your first question, first part. So we are three players, or 3 guys, and usually it's Mantic coming to us with, hey, we want to do an update, for example. Just keep in mind, have a look. It's our job to have a look at the balance anyway. So our job as the RC is that we keep the game alive. We, monitor things, and when it's time for an update, we don't have to start from scratch. It's normal that when I look at comments online, when I see what maybe some tournaments did, I will be always looking at the points. Okay, which unit is taken every time? Oh, this army list 1. Well, that's
again.
Yeah, these units. Oh, Pheromites.
The obvious
what a wonder.
Stuff.
Yeah, there are a few obvious things there, and so these are things we have always, in the back of our heads. But for this update, it's been quite a while, so that Mantic was said, be ready, that work on something. We want to update 3rd edition at some point. Now the point is really close, and things like the narrative parts or this maybe scenarios was something I'm not really sure if they really specifically wanted that, but otherwise they just said, okay, do what you want. If you feel it's something the game needs as something additional, go for it. And the narrative things I mentioned, or even the maybe scenery things, interactive scenery even, is something that it's just fun. It shouldn't be in the game like per default, because it adds a bit, maybe another layer or more layers even to the game that aren't always needed. But if you like that stuff, if you're someone who plays a skirmish game and wants it a bit more crunchy, a bit more things to do, and
it's
game.
Another layer of complexity.
Yes. So having this as an additional rule that you can use if you want to, and even use as a bit of a sandbox, or even using in a campaign. As I said, I think the groundwork of the campaign system is really good. Maybe there are a few things I would change for maybe a next edition or something like that. But I think it's better than ever. It's rather simple, but you could then add these things to the other missions or these effects to the games to shake it up even more. And I think the campaign game could even be the best way to do that.
I get two questions now. This is the first one regarding the campaign. It's a question. Yeah, it's kind of a question. It's more a comment or an opinion for me. But is it because the campaign system is there, it is good. I think what might be missing would be a pre-made campaign, a lore setting, or a famous event, like when you have we already have the pre-made teams, so it would be nice to have a pre-made campaigns like this team and this team. This is the event they met, or this was the encounter, to already get a little bit of lore inside. To use the campaign system.
Yeah. Well, that's something. There was something in first edition and even in second, I think, where you have we talked about it already. I think about a campaign tree, a structure where you have a bit. And on Nexus Psi, for example, there was Riker City.
Yeah, exactly. We had this in second edition with the command protocols, that they got a story to tell, and you could replay that story with the stuff that was in the book.
I would love to have something like that. I mean, the themed lists would be great. They wouldn't really work with the campaign system we have in the rulebook, with getting better, because they are already named mercenaries. But you could still do something with that. I think that's something for the future. If people would enjoy that, I for sure would enjoy thinking about
so
something
please,
like that.
Everyone listening to it, leave a comment, write it on YouTube in the comments down. If you really want to have that one, convince the RC to edit. Now it's your chance.
Yeah, I mean, if enough people say that, I think it's something that can always happen. If we go to Mantic and say, okay, we've heard this is something they really, really want. If there are any chance we could release it anyway in an official format, that's great. So So we have a bit of freedom for working on these things, as I already mentioned.
This is how much freedom you usually have. So what's the big framework you get? You get a rough. So just release an update. We need a balance update, or you get certain details, or is it like, Asterians need something, please make something? How much freedom do you really have on working it? And
I'd say,
I mean, you are obviously restricted by model availability. You can't add anything that doesn't have a model available, because this would get issues, of course.
That's one of the main points. If something new gets out, we need to do rules for that. So when the new Marauder units dropped, I think 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, something like that. I think the Ripper Warlord or the Goblin weapons team, the new Skyscrapers. Well, it was. I mean, Mantic came to us and said, "Okay, we have these new models coming out. Here are a few renders." Or even at the stage before we get the renders, just the concept, would be cool if we could do something for that. And then we have to come up with that. And I think the same happened or it happened even more now since last year, since the Vault, since Clive came to me the first time with the idea of the IRAS contract mercenaries, and said, okay, hey, he wants to release those old Star Saga models, and it would be cool, wouldn't it? And it wasn't just like, okay, you have to do that, but it was like a question, hey, do you think this could work? Do you think you could do something with this? And we were, hell yeah. I mean, the idea of having a themed list was something I was really, really enjoying. And after that, the things in the Vault had like Clive talking to us and asking, okay, could you do some more teams? There's another thing coming. We have some updates. Sometimes it's also the other way around, where I said, okay, hey, this looked cool. Could we use it? Can we do just rules for that because it's flavorful? But we could even make something with that. So let's say GCPS upgrades are great for flavor, but then there are swords in there. I mean, they are flavorful, but swords and pistols or gauntlets, they can't really be used unless, the model looks completely different. Then we could do something with that. So, yeah, tease.
Okay. So you have, this is, I need to word it a little bit. So there's basically an option that you can influence on certain releases when you say, I think the rules need a specific weapon, or that weapon really don't fit in here, but the model needs a different role in game. Can you adjust that thing? So this is a possibility.
I think the best example was with the latest school editions we got, because Clive came to Matt from the Firefight RC and to me and said, okay, there are a few things with ghouls and plague in general he wants to do. What do you think we could need? And the Firefight guys said, okay, more close combat options for the ghouls, for example, and so on. And we had a few ideas, and in the end, it was like working together. We had our ideas, and I mean, we were a bit faster in the end, pitching our profiles. So the Firefight RC had to roll with it a little bit. So because there are enough differences anyway, but we had bikes, and bikes in Deadzone can't climb, and if we only do a bike that can fight in close combat, most of the time it won't be doing that much.
Anything.
So it wouldn't be really needed. So the Pox grenade was a perfect option to make it unique in an already fast faction that can go everywhere. So there are those design processes where we then say, okay, what do you have planned? We could need this weapon, for example. This would be great, because it's one part is it looks cool and it's something new that's nice, and the other is, okay, how do we fit it in that it's, on the one hand it fits the faction, on the other hand it's something that it's not just the same again. And I think the ghouls, for example, we talked about them, are filling a niche that needed to be filling, but don't take away too much from the other units. So don't overshadowing other things.
Yeah, so this overall sounds like a really good relationship between new models, style, and rules development. So it's not one side pushing the other, but you really get what's best for the game, what's the healthiest for the game, or the gaming is really in the focus first, and not just pushed by a model side. We have new models, so those need rules, and you are limited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It sometimes it's also like we have this one slot left. We had it on the Asterian sprue. We have one slot left for a weapon. We have these and these ideas. What do you think? And I think that's a really healthy relationship, as you said, because everything, it should work that way. It has to be something cool. It has to be something unique, and it has to work.
Yeah. So it basically avoids that one faction has multiple roles covered, while the other faction has niches that are uncovered, but multiple units in the same roles or things like that. So that's a really good thing on when working together, and there's an open relationship also with the playtesters, that people know what it's coming, and things aren't secret, and you basically get the full rules to work with and the information on the model. So this really sounds really good. So from an outsider's point of view, and also for the casual gamer, so this is really something that works well in here, as I see it, or as I talk about it. So now we take the chance for talking a little bit about the factions, I think.
Because
that
was also a request, to be honest. It's something, I mean, we would have talked about the factions in general, but there was a request on our Discord, so we are listening, we are reading from Jacob.
Yeah.
And he asked if we could maybe preview one unit per faction.
Yeah, it's one unit per faction in a little bit more detail. So we start with Asterians. What unit have you picked, or what do you want to tell us about those?
Full disclosure, I didn't pick something before, so I don't have something in my notes for that, because I wanted to, have maybe picking the best unit out of a gut feeling. Yeah. And for the Asterians, I mean, there will be obviously a few changes, and we have already talked about things like the Matsudan having a few similar units that might get, the Asterian units might get a treatment, so like the drones. But I want to take time for a unit profile or a weapon profile of the unit that has been out as a model but hasn't had any rules since it came out. And this is the Cypher Warden with the flare gun. So the Cypher Wardens are, in on itself, not really a unit you see often or at all, maybe, in Deadzone.
Yeah, I think
because of their low range and because of the Kalishi. So you have maybe
I would have also said because of the model, because we haven't Cyphers have had bad, like the old PVC models were not really liked. So anything Cypher wasn't really taken simply because people didn't like the models, or they were hard to get, running out. So and this changed with the new plastic. So
people used light missile launchers on Cyphers anyway, even if they didn't like the models. But the Wardens, suffered from two sides. So we looked at the Warden profile overall, made it a bit better fitting its role. It's not a killy thing. It's not something like the Kalishi. And then we said that, okay, good. We have this new weapon, and the flare gun then has two ways to be used. One way in close combat, because Cypher Wardens are still close combat fighters. And the other option is a range 3 option. So you can use the flare gun as a focused one or as a dispersed one. And the interesting thing is it adds something the Asterians don't really have that much in their list. Especially when using Cyphers, you don't have it at all. And that's suppression. And suppression and constructs are a nice combination. And this is something, and suppression is on this gun. So it doesn't work that well with Kalishi, who are already great. I mean, it can still work, but it's not a long-range weapon. But it could really work on, supporting your Cypher Wardens, who are constructs and can't be pinned. And even the Matsudan in this list then can't attack them because they are honorable. So maybe there is a way to use it with more Wardens where they shine even a bit more, just because of this support weapon. Also, the other ones get a bit better, and also give a new tool to use. And I think that will be a fun unit for sure, because it's not that expensive. Or the Wardens overall aren't as expensive.
Yeah. So not changing the role, but expanding on it. It sounds good.
They are changed a little bit, but especially with this new weapon, I think they will see more play and have a distinct role. Because right now, either you take the cheap marionettes or you take Kalishi, for example. So there is no really need for the Cypher Warden, or maybe even Matsudan if you want the knockback. So yeah,
Yeah, sounds good.
This would be my pick. I went a bit more in detail because it's really a new thing. For the others, maybe will be a bit more vague, but hey.
Yeah, so
we'll see.
In
I don't
any
want
case,
to spoil too
we are going
much.
to have to bleep things over if Mantic has an issue with it, if you're telling too much.
Yeah,
so, dear listener, if you now get any bleep or any other sound covering things, we have said too much. So it's okay. So let's talk about the enforcers. I can't really think of anything I would like to see a big change in here, but it's not my main faction either. So what have you picked?
I think I'll pick a unit that has changed a bit more over some other thing. I'd say the operative needed love. It will get love.
Okay.
Just that said. But I will take the defender, the enforcer defender, the normal one. It's in a weird spot. Peacekeepers are just too good for what they bring for 20 points and troops and their options, and the enforcer defender with the shotgun just is a weird profile. He's not killy, he's not really tanky, he's in between. So he will get something to be more unique, that is more true to its name, to really have something more of a supportive roadblock character that isn't a peacekeeper. So as you see, it wasn't that easy, but I think I think that the change will be nice, because right now he's cool, but yeah, he doesn't really have something that he excels at.
I mean, it's also I think I haven't used a defender at all, because it usually is, if you want something in that role, you take a peacekeeper, the bigger one. So
the peacekeeper defender, or you put a defender shield on the unit where you want to have the defender shield anyway.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this, because now I'm out of curious what it really will bring.
Yeah.
But support unit sounds nice.
I won't tell any more, as I said. But
let's quickly move up to the next thing, because this is now the most important one. It's Forge Feathers, because that's my faction.
The most important one. Well, I think Tam probably will be editing this episode, and he's an avid Forge Feather player. So of course
there can never be enough dwarves. So of course, so it's so now we talk. So.
Okay, the unit I will pick, and I will pronounce it the wrong way, because I always do, and I hate myself for it. But Artificer, I think it is. Yeah. So
I would have said
these guys.
So
yeah, I know that the way I usually say it it's wrong. So Artificer, I think, is the right way to say it. So I won't just say the word anymore and hope it's right. These guys, I love the models. They are awesome, but right now they are cool because they look good, and they can be, your Swiss Army knife, but they are just not good enough. So they are taking more of more important role in the list building, because right now I feel like you either take the cheaper Brocker, or you take Torgarim as the other version for close combat, or you take the Steel Warriors as shooters. And these guys are just in between and not really worth taking. So these get way more interesting, and some buffs on top to really make them stand out.
They have been overshadowed by other choices. Which is a sad thing, because they got this nice, they're nice Racine models. They're really looking good. They're also the Racine models, so the most up-to-date ones, I would say. And I think the brokers are the only ones in PVC still, so it hurts my personal feelings that you take the old.
So these will be way more in line with the other things, and I mean it's a hard profile to balance because of the options, because of what you can do with those and customize and so on. And I think that was something when they came out we were aware to not make them too good. So, oh no, the new unit's coming out and you have all these options you can combine and they are just, better than everything else. But it just, maybe who were a bit too cautious. So
Yeah.
those are ones who were on our radar for a long time, and these will be better.
Yeah, okay. So this is something really looking forward to. So having a full Artificer team that isn't bad is something I'm really looking forward to, because now this is because it's like we basically with Forger we have those 4 different styles of the army you can get to. I mean, I have everything, so this is something different. This is personally for me, but you can go just the Steel Warrior heavy a team, or a pure Forge Guard team, which is something like this is only once for the hardcore dwarf players to get one, because you are not really doing much in the game. Because
they are really expensive.
You are slow, you are hard, but it's at the most style. Just going pure Forge Guard, you can go with brokers, and you have the Artificer, which can make a full team as well, in kind of. So because you have the Juggernaut you want to use, you have the Master Artificer you want to use. So a little more love for that one, so that it's worth taking. Everything is something I'm really looking forward to. So finally putting the Racine models on the table. This is good.
Hey, this is Ash Walker.
And Zakama 13.
And you're listening to the Mantic Universe podcast.
So much universe, so little time.
Let's talk about the next faction, GCPS.
Yes, that's I think maybe the hardest one to pick. GCPS are a bit of the underdogs, because they have the problem that they are the shootiest faction. The Enforcers maybe are the second shootiest faction, if you look at the list, but the Enforcers got many new tools, not that new anymore. I mean, the Phase Claws were new, and the Assault Peacekeeper. So they are faring a bit better, but having an only really shooting options with only 2 close combat options is hard to play with. And if you're using Rangers, you're committing to the front, you're giving away 2 victory points for each Ranger who still dies or survives on 5s and fights on 5s with only 1 armor. There are enough units out there with AP1 in close combat or even shooting that have a better stat than them. So you can easily lose the game just by losing those victory points. So these issues we were aware of, and I think GCPS might be the one faction we will be monitoring more closely even after the update, and see if it bumps them up a little bit. But I think if you're asking around which might be the maybe hardest and weakest faction, the GCPS could be on top of there. So at least for the weakest part. So there are many changes in there. One I've already hinted, so I won't repeat that one. Go listen back to this episode at some point. I hinted. That will maybe help the GCPS.
So always else. Be concentrated.
No slacking here.
Yeah.
So, and I've already talked about another issue that which might give away something. But one of the I think biggest changes for me is that we are making the veterans a bit more distinct from the Marines. Because right now, if you take veterans and Marines and mix them, it's not good. Because you have the veterans who are just like more expensive and better at shooting, but both survive the same, and that's a bit of an issue. So it's for list building, you only have those normal humans, and then you're not really meant to mix them on top. Is something that is really interesting for them. So the veterans will be a bit more unique and will be showing their veteran role even more. And I'm quite fond of that. Yep.
Yeah, curious and looking forward to it, because it's like,
and I think sorry.
No, I mean, veterans are always a tricky thing, because making them too good at everything and nothing else will be taken, and because why should I take Rangers if veterans can do the same but better?
Yeah.
While if you want cheap bodies or they are still dying too fast, just taking the cheaper units, it's the way to go. So, so I'm looking
I think
forward
that's
to see the
an
changes.
overall. Yeah, it's an overall problem with the GCPS. You can't do them make them too good because they are still the only puny humans. But then again, in terms of balance, they have to have something that makes them stand out. I think this might be the faction that has most changes, even, or most maybe bigger changes overall. So, yeah, I think this will be something we can dive a bit deeper into once it's dropped, because I think this is something I've also seen in social media asked quite often, like how do you fare with GCPS? So we will have to look at them after the update.
Let's take this as a note. Our first faction focus after the update will be for GCPS.
Yeah, if you want it. I mean, still, if the listeners,
dear listener, if you have a better suggestion, please write it in the comments. But if nothing else is said, we will go with GCPS.
We have ideas, yeah.
Okay, so the next faction on the list is going to be Marauders. So what units out? Marauders still have a bunch of PVC models out there. We know we have seen some well done updates, especially for the suits in the vault to replace the weapons with resin weapons, which I think is to the better. It's not just. I think that the Ripper suits were way too overloaded with weapons, because I think they're a very old unit. They're still, think, from first edition, and they were just comically overloaded with weapons. And now with the new ones from the vault, it gets a little bit tuned down to be more realistic. So what unit you want to give us some more details from the Marauders?
Well, Marauders didn't have that many changes. I think maybe let's talk about the Rainmaker, because you talked about the Ripper. We had and we played around a bit with fire control, and it was just too good, or the model too expensive. It's because he has so many weapon options, and that's the nice thing. You have, for every occasion, you have a weapon option. In the end, we took another route, and we gave the Rainmaker augmented. Not on every weapon profile, but if you take the Rainmaker, it's a decision-making machine. Because which weapon do I need, and do I have maybe to risk an overkill? Do I augment my weapon, have 2 rerolls on 5 ups? Then some weapons can get really, really scary. But it comes with a price. I mean, you're still paying the points, of course, for all the weapons. But having Rampage on an armor 2 4-up survive model, where you just lose a wound because of the augment, could be a high risk. I mean, they survive on force, so usually they are fine. But it's not something that is, brainless. I always use it. But it can up their potential way, way more. Especially with like some weapons where you only shoot on 5s. Having 2 rerolls can be a big game changer. I like that change a lot.
So let's talk a little bit about the Matsudan. I mean, they are a pretty new faction in general. We got all new plastics. We got all new resin updates. We got all new resin releases in the vault. So is there even anything new with Matsudan, or what can you tell us?
I mean, we took the time and the feedback, looked at them a bit more thoroughly after they have been out for a year now. We just added a few new units, and overall I think they were in a good place, but got a few buffs, minor buffs here and there. I mean, the biggest change might be for the profile of the normal Matsudan, so expect something there, but overall we're pretty happy with them. And for those who said that maybe Matsudan aren't, killy enough, the new additions surely help, the graph bike, for example, and the minor adjustments, and also taking out the outcast should help them out just the tiny little bit more.
Yeah, okay. So next thing, Mason Labs. So the big bad evil of the Deadzone universe. What happens with them? They are definitely not gone like everyone wishes. So what are we seeing here?
Well, something that was long overdue are, and I mean, I think maybe this is even the first time that I'm talking about some nerfs, but there won't be only nerfs for Mason Labs, but the cyborgs are just way too cheap. So nothing really fancy. They will be a bit more expensive, with 12 points for the normal ones, and I think 16 for the alphas. They were just punching way above the pay grade and moreover surviving. Those are getting a bit more expensive, but to counter it a little bit at least, the splat from the cyborg, so the special order from the cyborg prime from the leader, got a nice new little flavorful addition. So that might even help list building, so that you can have a bit more crazy lists with that, not only cyborg.
Yeah, so that sounds good. That okay. So not as
everyone
evil as they were, but
yeah, I mean, everyone who has faced cyborgs, I think, will be just crying out in relief right now and not listening for the next 3 minutes, because they are like so
still
emotional
screaming.
and tears of joy running around down the cheeks. So yeah, cyborgs were just a bit over.
Okay, so cyborgs be gone. And now for something that really needs some love in here, but mostly from the model sides, it's the nameless.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so grateful that we have the models in the vault, but I agree, nameless after reps are the faction that need something, and they are in Epic Warpath now. Hopefully, I mean, people want them in Firefight. It would make sense. Maybe something is coming. I really hope so, because I like them. But I mean, maybe we're at a point where I start with the nerfs and not the buffs of the units. I think one unit had it coming more maybe than any other unit besides the Enforcer Jetbike with missile launcher, and I'm speaking about the Ferromite. These are crazy value. We like what they do, and I love the idea of the rock the rock calamari thing just dropping from orbit. It's great, but they were way too easy to take, way too easy to spam, especially because if you have a moderate amount of them as a tool, a tactical, it's okay. But if you spam like 3 of them because they are so cheap, they can destroy a whole game, and that's not fun for your opponent. So this is something that really needed changing, and there are a few other changes here and there for the nameless that might shake up the lists you are used to, I think, in a really good way. But my pick are the Ferromites. Plain and easy.
If everything would be that easy. So, and we also have still the Night Stalkers on there, also a rather new faction added. Don't expect so big changes here.
And not that much. So
not many changes, but big ones. Or
I mean, one we had it already when playtesting, but it cemented itself as a bigger problem after the release, that there could be some list composition that was just, again, really unfun to play against and really oppressive. The Butcher Flash Ripper with Butchers and Needle Fangs was a list, and maybe even a Mind Screech, that was just going crazy. One of the biggest problems were the Needle Fangs. I mean, they are really, really cool, and I love the style, and we kept it, but they were just too easy as unlocks for those points, that speed. They were just everywhere, hard to kill, even with a 6-up survive, and were just like, especially against armies, speaking for many shots but bad shots, those Needle Fangs were unkillable, and then the Butchers themselves too. So we changed a bit how these interactions work, or especially how the Needle Fang can be spammed or is just an auto include. We wanted to and it's not only a point thing, it's a bit something else. We tested it quite a bit until we were happy. So again, the third one in a row that gets more of a nerf, my pick, but I think it's just way better for the faction and for playing against it, because some people just said, okay, it's no fun to play against them, and that shouldn't be the case. It should be something different.
It's reasonable to meet somewhere in the middle, that the weaker ones get a little bit better and the good ones a little bit worse, and not everything always getting better. Because
yes, we have also a
power
buff
creep
there,
spiral that we don't want in the game. So we have already talked a lot about the plague in the past. So any specific unit that is really going to change a lot here? Or
okay, the question is, do I go again with the nerf? But I don't think so. I go for a buff. And I take a unit that has an incredible model, but is overshadowed by another pick. And I'm talking about the Corruption.
Yeah.
The Corruption is really cool and it looks good on paper. Then you use it and it's maybe always it's a letdown. So for me, the Corruption gets more of an identity, more of an use case. It fits also the story that was written when it came out a bit more. So maybe you can reread that when it's fighting as an Asterian Spectra. So it's in the blog, and I've put it on the wiki too. So if you search there, you should be able to find it under the plague section. And the Corruption has one big weakness: 5-up survive, many hit points, but 5-up survive, 1 armor. That's not that good. So we changed the armor to tough. There's some other changes as well, but that's something that it doesn't really help against the little arms fire, which is just fine. But against like the higher powered weapons, AP ammo on big things, you get just that little bit more staying power that it should have at that price point.
And so for everyone who already got the model, it's a big thing to finally get worth the money in the game.
The aberration was better nearly every time, I felt. So it's time to take out your Corruption. Yeah.
And last but not least, the Vermin. So what are going our red or our sci-fi red friends in here?
Okay, that's not easy. Personally, they get a few adjustments in the right direction, in my opinion. But I will pick one model that felt a bit awkward. So the profile wasn't that matching to the model. Maybe it worked, but it wasn't ideal. And so this one is a bigger change, quite literally. And I'm talking about the pack leader. The pack leader now works more like he looks. He's beefier. He looks like a nightmare boss, and not, like a crazy whatever it was before thing. So it's not as fast anymore because it's more based on a nightmare set line. But it's way more survivable. It's a bigger nightmare, and it's a killing machine. So this isn't the glass cannon you are used to. This will be your big fighty leader.
Yeah.
That the faction didn't have that one, and it's a killing machine. The price went up, of course, but if you look at the new profile and at the model, you exactly know, okay, this profile is this model. It wasn't the case in the old version, unfortunately. I really like the glass cannon approach, but it wasn't
not
really
for that model.
Yeah. It wasn't intuitive when looking at the model.
Yeah, I mean,
you think it's beefier than that.
Having a nightmare leader that really fits it looks really close to the nightmares in size and shape. So having a nightmare leader is a good thing. So I really like this change. So this is something I'm looking forward to. Basically, my son is going to like that one because it's like his back leader, but it's just not really fitting how he wants to play him currently. So
I think
this is something he will look forward to. So
Yeah.
Okay, and
We left out one.
no, we didn't left out. I want to talk this because I want to disconnect this one a little bit from the rest because
Fair.
it's like
Fair.
these are the big elephant in the room anyway. So what's going to happen with the reps?
Okay, so
there
the
was
reps.
a teaser for new models last year. They were kind of teased in the online campaign thing
Mhm.
where you had to solve the puzzle. So there's something big coming for them. But I guess it won't be this update because it's not a printed one, just a digital one. So this won't be the big rep release, but there are still changes coming in.
Yes, exactly. So the reps haven't been forgotten. They are in the lore and also, in the design and manufacturing or whatever process, they are still there. They aren't forgotten. I know it's sad that they aren't available anymore, but they are on the horizon. This update will be, as with all other factions, first and foremost, a balance update. There will be changes also for the reps. There will be a few things that are, more in line with how they should be. So it's a stepping stone for the bigger new release of them that will happen in the future. So maybe because it's
So this is a tricky thing because the main problem with the reps is that the old models are running out. They are not really available. They are hard to get.
Mhm.
I mean, people still. I mean, it is the faction without models technically, so you can go crazy with everything else that is out there. Make your own reps because those are rebels from different alien worlds with all crazy things and shenanigans on there. So people, this is with the faction, people can convert whatever they want or use models whatever they like out there. So currently it's more of the faction for those people who want to use other stuff because they don't really have models anyway. So this is being an intermediate step. So I guess we are seeing some in-between steps of things that get removed or changed later with the new model release that's coming up. But we are not quite there yet.
Not quite there. No. We have, as you said, a few balance changes that may be even affected from the ideas we have for them. But at this point, we have to take what we get. These still get updated with this update, but in the future they will get a proper re-release if you want, because there's, as you said, nearly nothing available. I know there are many people who can't wait, and I'm one of them too. But they aren't forgotten. If you have the feeling, it's not. They are not.
Okay. No. So I guess this might be because having a new faction or a new model or a big model release would go in with a new printed book, or at least I would like to see here one. So maybe reps are also a good chance to bring solo play rules back or cooperative rules with the release. And I guess, or maybe we won't. I mean, I really would like to see them coming along with the Epic Warpath release, just to have more sci-fi in our lives. But I guess maybe it's more like an end of the year or next year release. Do you know, or the big question is, do you know, or you can't tell? Or you just say nothing and nodding behind because you know there's no video in
well,
there.
I'm nodding. Yeah. So I know a bit, of course, but I can't really tell you anything.
Okay. Yeah. So we still have to accept that one. So it's not a big, but we know, at least for everyone out there who is still thinking what's going on. Yeah, they are coming. They are not forgotten. Mantic is working on them. It will be awesome. So this is
absolutely. Maybe I can give you something else then, because I didn't say that much for the reps. One unit type is getting quite some love, which it deserves, and that's the Strider in particular, and some walkers, but especially the Striders. are getting more love. But in the end, every walker, because they are big centerpieces, but they are overshadowed by big other support beasts usually.
Yeah.
And I think it will be right now taking high AP weapons often isn't worth it, at least not against Striders, maybe against Peacekeepers or something like that. But this will change, because right now you just take your flamethrower, your It Burns weapon, and the 40-50 point model doesn't do anything, and it's not that, doesn't have that threat it maybe should have. It's a hard balance because it is so tanky from a point of view of armor, but I will say that now that taking your It Burns weapon instead of an AP weapon won't be solving every problem. Yeah.
Okay.
So Strider enjoyers, you will be loving this one.
Happy. Yeah. So as we already talked about models, the next big thing for model release, or the second most important new model release, might be Nameless. We know because for Epic Warpath they have made the new sculpts and new models, or they had to make new models for that one, because we have seen the Kickstarter teaser, the new small models look awesome, but they had to take the digital sculpts and made new ones, because scaling around doesn't really work in that regard.
The proportions are just different.
Yeah, and so the art have done new models for Epic Warpath. The big question now is, are we getting new models for Nameless as well? Or, because they're still all PVC models, they are in the vault, but a plastic release is like, how to say it, the obvious one now, because we know reps are coming in plastic sooner or later. The next, then Nameless would be the only ones left that need some love here, or really need a core plastic release. So do we know anything planned for that one, or is this still too far away for someone to know?
I think everyone wishes for it. And there were many voices that wanted them after Epic Warpath for Firefight and for Deadzone, because it makes sense. Scaling down from a lore perspective, if they are in the biggest battles, they should be in the smaller ones too. So it would make totally sense. And as a fan, I just say I really want them, and I would love to have more models, more poses, and more love. I think from a gameplay perspective, they are really, really strong. But then again, a bit limited in what you want and have to take. That will also change a bit. But I hope there will be something. That's just me speaking as a fan and nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, they deserve the plastic models. And I think they also
absolutely
a very interesting concept in sci-fi in general, because this isn't something we have.
No, they are really, really
elsewhere.
unique.
Yeah, so they really deserve it. So let's see. Okay. Anything else you can tease here? So I guess what we haven't talked about is a release date yet, because basically I don't know anything anyway, but I guess you also don't really know a fixed date, but I guess we are aiming for beginning of summer or late summer. I mean, I don't know when this episode will go out, but
yes. I'd say if you're hearing this, it will be really soon. That's also why I was rather confident giving away a few more details. I didn't want to spoil that much. There's so much more to talk about, but it wouldn't be fun. We could do that after it's out, after everyone could look about. I wanted really to give a bit of an idea and to hype you up and give you a bit something to be, interested. And I hope I succeeded. But it will be really, really soon after this airs.
So I guess with the latest Kickstarter update for Epic Warpath, it's going to be Epic Warpath will come after it. So we got a Deadzone update first, and then the Epic Warpath stuff, which is it fits into my hobby blog very well. So I don't need to get away the focus from the big models before I start with the small ones, so I can do some things here. So this really
it could work out that way.
Yeah.
And if you're working at the scale, I don't know if you're a listener, if you have listened to the Controlled Fire podcast, they had an interview with Matt with the whole RC, not only Matt, but with the whole Firefight RC. about their upcoming supplement or update. So there might be some crossovers that you see. So I think as someone who is a bit sad that Epic Warpath is, taken aback to the end of summer, I'm still happy with things to come soon.
So looking forward. So there's still sci-fi in your life and something from the Warpath universe coming for summer, even if Warpath is delayed. I have to say, I'm also sad that it's not coming, but I'm not really disappointed at the moment because I was expecting a delay. It's like I haven't had any Kickstarter out there that really was on time with everything. And unexpected stuff happens all the time. And whatever the real reason was why it was delayed, this doesn't really come out of nowhere because it was a Kickstarter. People were already expecting that May is too ambitious to hold it. And that beginning of June is also not really something in that they can hold. So July, August, September was always something that the more experienced people out there who know how Kickstarters go and things of real life are happening. So August was something that was in a reasonable time frame that we were expecting anyway. So I'm still.
But if you're playing Deadzone, you will forget about Epic Warpath until it hits your door. Believe me, this is
and enough to cover that summer break.
This will be. I'm really, really, really excited. I can't wait. I was just talking to Clive. So, hey, can I spoil something? Can I just drop a few hints here and there in the socials because I really can't contain myself. I need a containment protocol, and it failed.
We all need
it breached. This one breached here and
sent in the enforcers.
Oh no! Well, I'm a rebel part, so yeah.
Okay. So now I think we have covered everything, and so for everyone out there, dear listeners, get in touch with us, message us on Facebook, come on our Discord, or just write us an email if you want to. Leave a comment here on YouTube, on Spotify, on Amazon or Apple, wherever you listen to this podcast. Come in with all your questions you have, with requests for future content, and be hyped for Deadzone and the new release for summer. We have now looking something to look forward to. And speaking of future episodes, so we are planning the next thing to have faction focus, starting with GCPS after the update hits. If there's anything else you want to listen to, if you have any guests you want to have on our podcast or want to be a guest yourself here, just get in contact to us and have a nice day out there.
Yeah, we're always happy to talk. And now I'm back at my host, co-host thing and not RC member anymore. I'm really glad. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and come talk to us. It's always fun. And we will see what the future holds. And I hope you will be as pleased as I and the rest of the RC are. So have a nice day, night, morning, I don't know, wherever, whenever you are in the future.
Yeah. And remember, Deadzone is life.
Oh yes, Deadzone is life. Bye.
Bye.